YCS Chicago was this past weekend, and I had so much fun. I actually put in like a ridiculous amount of time testing for this event and sort of theorizing what deck would be the best variant to play at this particular event, and I came so close, like so ridiculously close to topping this event. And I posted about this on Twitter, and you might have heard about it otherwhere. It's been on like Facebook, and I know House of Champs posted a video mentioned it, but I, as well as Alex Simo, who I'm sure many of you have heard of, both of us made it to day 2, won the first round, round 10, and then lost in round 11, which is the very last round of Swiss. Both of us lost in the bubble, and man, this really stings. You know, I've made it to day 2 before plenty of times, and I've even lost in some finals of like day 2 on the bubble, but this one hurts more than any other loss I've ever suffered in a tournament. And there's a couple reasons for that. I think the biggest reason is that I felt like I really did like prepare way more for this than other events that I've been to. And if you remember my last sort of season of Yu-Gi-Oh, this past WCQ and before that, I didn't do very good. It was like the only year of Yu-Gi-Oh that I haven't got my invite to WCQ, and I really wanted this season to actually focus on becoming a better competitive player, spending less time on like playing meme decks at regionals just for like videos and playing like real decks that I thought had a real chance of topping. And for the most part, it's been great. You know, I've been way more successful this past year. Despite the fact that I haven't gotten the top yet, I still am holding out hope here. Despite the fact that I haven't gotten top yet, this has been the most consistent year of Yu-Gi-Oh that I've ever played in. Like I got the invite like as soon as the WCQ happened. I topped the ARG Invitational, and then I've done really well at regionals so far. Almost top 8'd the Columbus Regional that happened a couple weeks ago, and then this YCS went fantastically. Like for most of the matches, I was just like in a completely dominating position. I put in so much hard work into my deck. I played some cool tech choices, and obviously Pot of Extravagance just came out, which is like the biggest reason I played Altergeist, and I just felt like I was doing so good, and it hurts so much that I lost in the last round. But if anything, I'm not super mad about it. I'm a little sad about it, but if anything, I'm more so just like hungry for that top. I'm gonna top something this year and next year. I'm gonna put in the hard work once again and make it there, and I'm so determined to do well at a YCS now. I'm so close. You know, so many YouTubers just don't go to events at all, or if they go to events, they like don't enter. If they go to events and enter, sometimes they just drop by like round 4. I'm trying to break that stigma so much. I mean, you have people out there like Agent Persuasion and Team Samurai who have both topped tons of events, and that's so cool. I want to be like that. There's so few YouTubers that actually play competitively, even if they're like talking about competitive things in their channel. They just don't go to events ever, and I know why. It's because it sucks being like a failure at the events, and it sucks, I mean, for your own audience to like, when you talk about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, if you're not able to even get an invite, like why are you talking about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh? So like for me personally, I feel like it's really important to be not only a channel that talks about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, but also a channel that is able to become a player when they go to events and actually get that invite. How am I supposed to tell people how to get their invites if I can't even do it myself? So that's why I've really struggled this year and this last year with like becoming as competitive as I possibly can, just because I feel it's important for someone like me that's talking about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh and giving people advice. It's important for me to actually show people that I can get my own invite, which I already have now. It's important for me to do that so that what I'm saying actually has some weight to it. And I think the next step that I want to take, the next step that Simo wanted to take, who also lost in the last round, is getting that YCS top. And I was so close, like so ridiculously close to getting there. And it just makes me more excited for the next YCSs and the WCQ and stuff like that. I'm gonna just try my ass off because you know, I put in the time, I put in the energy, and it really showed at this YCS. I just felt so comfortable with my deck, so comfortable with my tech choices as well, which I thought were a little out there, a little crazy, but I think that I had one of the best Altergeist decks in the room. I think it's why I made it so far in the tournament. Obviously there weren't any Altergeists that topped the event, but I was so close. I should have been on that list, but next time. But in today's video, we're going to talk about my YCS Chicago experience. So first off, why Altergeist? I mean, obviously I've been playing the deck for a while now, but I felt like it was sort of in an awkward position like this past format. The past couple months have been kind of weird for Altergeist, and also, I mean, one of the hardest things, and I think the reason that Altergeist didn't top this event was so many people after YCS Sydney and Altergeist just like totally took that by storm, and obviously won the event as well. So many people were just like over-siding for Altergeist. People now had like Evenleys and Red Reboots and the Prankatops and Twin Twisters and Typhoons, all these cards that people had slowly been taking out of their side decks, or at least cutting copies of, now they were at full force. People definitely were aware of Altergeist, especially with the release of Pot of Extravagance. So Pot of Extravagance was like the biggest reason I continued playing Altergeist. That card is literally Pot of Greed 2.0. And yeah, I will have to say, like, every time I used that card, it was fantastic. It got ashed like twice. One of the times I had the stop to the ash, but overall, like, it literally doesn't matter. That card is so crazy. Like, it's Pot of Greed, like, and especially when you play, like, I don't even think I like checked the banish cards more than like once, because like desires, like, a lot of times, I mean, the way to tell like a good player versus a bad player, a lot of times the desires is, do they check the cards they drew first, or do they check the cards they banished first? Because most of the good players just look at the cards that they drew first, but a lot of the lesser good players look at the cards that they banished first. Extravagance is the exact same way, but even more so, because like the cards you banish, especially in Altergeist, they just literally don't matter, and it's like so crazy. Like, that card is nuts. Like, maybe it's overpriced, maybe it's overhyped, but oh my god, is that card incredible. Any deck that can play that card, any deck that doesn't have any other pieces of draw power, or maybe was just playing desires as their only draw power, definitely consider playing Extravagance. The card is ridiculous. I mean, I drew that card like it was my job, like in the first on the day one. I didn't draw it at all day two, which really sucked, but overall I drew that card a lot day one, like for the first half of the day, and I just helped me win like every single game with that card. It's so crazy, like going first and just literally activating Pot of Greed in 2019 in a deck like Altergeist is just so insane. Helps you a lot going second as well, because you have 7 cards in your hand instead of 6. Like, that card is just nuts. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, you might there's like one game where I drew into another copy with the first copy, didn't matter. The next turn I just activated the second copy. Like, I don't, like, yeah, I'll banish 12 cards to my extra deck to draw 4 cards. That's insane. Like, it's that card is so good. Like, if you were sleeping on that card, if you like don't know if you can like afford it or not, that's one thing, but if you're sleeping on the card, you're playing Altergeist, you definitely have to be playing that card. It is so crazy in Altergeist, in any deck like that, where any deck that doesn't have any other draw power and doesn't need the extra deck as well. So mostly Altergeist, but it can fit in like Guru Control, which topped the event as well. It's also very important that I mention that out of the 11 rounds of the entire Swiss, so you have 9 rounds on day 1, and then I qualified for day 2, so it's 2 rounds in day 2 before top cut. Out of those 11 rounds, I won 1 die roll. Yes, that's true. I lost 10 die rolls throughout the entire weekend, and I'm playing a deck that really, really wants to go first. So how was I able to come back from this? Well, I made some very specific decisions when deck building, because I played Altergeist a lot, and I know that even though you can go second, even though you have cards like Mulseek that help break boards, it's tough going second without just like a I win button or something like that. You know, you got decks like Thunder Dragons and Dangers and things along those lines that they want to go first, but also if they go second, they can just like summon a ton of monsters. Altergeists are a little bit slower, so they can't quite do that. And so what I decided, and I looked at a lot of old school deck profiles, a lot of like 2012 deck profiles mainly, and I saw people, you know, they're playing decks like Dino Rabbit and Windups and Inzectors, decks that want to win the die roll, want to go first, and then they're playing cards like Dark Hole and Heavy Storm in the main deck, cards you can't activate on the first turn. And the reason being is that if you're winning like every die roll at a tournament with a deck like Altergeist, you should just be topping the event anyway, because like you're winning so many die rolls and like the deck is so good going first. So what I figured is I took a little bit of a chance and I decided to main deck Evenly Matched. And I know that sounds crazy and I know that sounds like bad deck building, but honestly, if I wasn't main decking Evenly Matched, there's no way in hell I ever would have made it to day 2 because of how many die rolls I lost. I probably won 6 game 1s out of those 10 lost die rolls just because I drew Evenly Matched. And Evenly Matched is so good in combination with Extravagance. The reason being is that, so the card that I didn't play in replacement of Evenly Matched, and I'll talk about my deck profile more, that I probably should have just played both, but I cut Infinite Impermanence from the main deck because I didn't feel it was good enough against Geist or Strikers. So what's cool is that Infinite Impermanence is the card that you have to draw in your first 5 because it's like a hand trap, but in the case of Evenly Matched and in the case of Extravagance, Evenly Matched only has to be in the top 8 cards of your deck, because you draw 1 for turn when you go second, so you have 6 cards in hand, then you activate Extravagance, you draw 2 more, so the Impermanence has to be in the first 5, the Evenly just has to be in the top 8, and yeah, that card won me so many games, like just a ridiculous amount of games. Maybe there's like another world where I didn't lose a ton of die rolls and it's like a terrible card, but honestly, like, Evenly Matched was so insane for me. I'm so glad I made that card. It works so well in combination with Extravagance. The idea Yu-Gi-Oh was that if I was going first a lot, like if I won a ton of die rolls, the only cases where Evenly Match was bad in testing was that when I went first, didn't draw Extravagance, and Evenly Match was my only trap card to trigger Faker. In every other case, even if you like drew 5 and you drew the Evenly Match, as long as you had another trap card or as long as you had Extravagance, every single time like it just didn't matter. So I figured I just wanted that instant win button going second, and man, like I stole so many games because of it. Like every single time, like because what happens in like Yu-Gi-Oh like in 2019, 2018 is that in games 2 and 3, like everyone's playing around Evenly Match, but in game 1, everyone's greedy. Every single person is way too greedy game 1, including myself. If I would have got like I would have got blown out by Evenly Match in game 1 too. Like if I won a ton of die rolls, that actually happened at like the Columbus or the Rosemont regional a couple weeks ago. I got blown up by Evenly Match game 1 in Thunder Dragons. And it's just like, man, like it wasn't even like, I would say like less than half those times I resolved a Faker off of the Evenly Match. It's just way too hard for people to come back because so many players just, especially in game 1, they just put all of their cards on the table on the first turn when they go first because they're like, well, who's main decking Evenly Match? Well, I am, and I punished you for playing all your cards on the table. So that's definitely part of the reason why I was able to get so far in this tournament. I know that also Simo main decked Evenly Match too. I don't know how many die rolls he won or lost, but he said it was really good. So I think that we were both kind of on the same wavelength there, which is really cool. As far as matchups go, I'm not going to go just like round by round. I played mostly meta. I played multiple Skystrikers, multiple Thunder Dragons. The most popular deck that I played against was actually Geist. It was just 3 Geist players. I beat all of them. I felt like my main deck and my side deck were so well tuned for the mirror match. I felt like at a lot of the events that I've been to in the past, that was like the weakest part of my strategy was the mirror match, and it might not look like it because I have some Floodgates main deck, and maybe not as many as other people were playing, but overall I'm really comfortable in the mirror match. In my side deck I had like 11 cards I could side in for the mirror match when I went second and 10 cards when I went first, so it's like I felt really comfortable for that. I felt like that paid off because I played so many mirror matches. I did play against a Luna Light deck that had like the similar combo of the guy that eventually won the event. I was able to barely sneak out a win, mainly just because it was close to time and I was able to poke a couple times with Milliseek and then use Concrete to stop my opponent from attacking me. But other than that, I mean, like, it's just, this format is great. Like, I've said this time and time again, but I really, like, mean it right now. Like, the format is really cool. Yes, there's a lot of dangers out there, but, like, the metagame is, like, I think John said it best, where it's, like, it's not super crazy to where you don't know what to side deck ever, because there's 2 really big decks right now. There's Skystrikers and Thunder Dragons, but what's cool is that if you look at the top 32, there's 12 different decks in the top 32. Like, when was the last time that happened? That's so awesome. You know, last format we had, like, 9 different decks topping, and that's really cool, but now there's, like, 12 different decks topping. So what that means is that you know that you're going to play against Skystrikers and Thunder Dragons, so you can side a ton of cards for those decks, but also you know that you're going to play a ton of like random rogue decks or like decks that are almost tier 1, and that is sort of cool as well. So this format's awesome. I played against a variety of decks. Even when I was playing against the meta decks, it was only like 2 or 3 times, which is really cool. And yeah, I should mention, yeah, so I beat all the Ultra Guys I played, I beat all the Skystrikers I played, I lost to one of the Thunder Dragons that I played. So my losses were Thunder Dragons, I lost to Guru Control in day 1 as well. That was just a really unfortunate match. Like, the first game I literally just didn't draw any monsters, so like that wasn't really a game, and then I won game 2, and then in game 3 he had like the perfect combination of cards to deal with my like entire hand, because he set 2 back row, I set 2 back row, he end phase Heavy Storm Duster and then flipped Gozen Match, and I like don't have an out to that. So like I have my Duster, but like at that point it's like too hard because they have Fiendus to negate it. And then in the day 2 I lost to Crusadia, although like realistically I didn't lose to Crusadia. That was the only time out of those 10, well, it was like the second time out of those 10 die rolls that I lost, 2 of them like actually like cost me the match, and the first one was the Thunder Dragon player because he just like went wombo combo. But the second one was unfortunately on the bubble there. It really mattered that I lost the die roll because he went first and he must have known when I was playing, so I'm sure like he watches the channel or something. Maybe he just took an educated guess, maybe one of his friends told him when I was playing, not entirely sure. But like mostly when like YouTubers play at events, especially me because I've been playing Ultra Guys like a year straight now besides Pasadena, most people like know what I'm playing. That's pretty common, but in this case it really mattered because he went first and he was playing like Crusadia Guard Dragons, and he was able to summon Naturia Barkion from his extra deck on turn 1. Yeah, like I can't really out that. Maybe I could have outed like 1 Barkion, but also he had a Gamma Seal that can negate 2 things and banish them. So like, yeah, there's no way I was recovering from that. Game 2 I easily beat him because like I actually got to play the game. Game 3 he just summoned Jinzo turn 1, which once again, Jinzo turn 1 isn't even that good against Geist a lot of times because they can just out it with Molaseek, but like I literally had 4 traps in hand and a Marionetter. Really bad opening for me, so it was just, man, it was just tough. Like I think back to that, and that was like, if I would have won that die roll, I would have won 100% of the time, because like my game 1 hand was like Judgment, Warning, Marionetter, Secret Village, or something crazy like that. And it's just, what can you do? It's hard to like not overanalyze it. What if I would have like rolled the die a little bit different? Like if I would have had it in my hand, just like set them, and what if they would have like flipped it? Because it was like, I think I lost the die roll by like 1. Like I think he rolled a 5 and I rolled a 4. So it's like, it's so hard like not getting caught up on that. Like what if I would have just rolled it a little bit differently, just get like a 6 or a 7? I would have went first and I would have won game 1. But then it's like, well, what if you would have shuffled the decks differently, would have got different opening hands? It's like really hard like analyzing that. I'm like trying not to do that as I just sort of move forward, because like there's nothing I could have done, you know. Like when I think back to the Columbus regional that I missed out on the top 8, it was because of my mistake. I chose to go second game 3. That was a critical misplay, and I learned from that. I didn't do that this tournament. But when I think of like that last round losing on the bubble, like there wasn't anything I could have done. It wasn't like any card choices I made. It wasn't anything. It was just that I lost the die roll like I had at that point 9 previous times out of that 11 round tournament. But that one time it mattered more so than any other time the entire tournament. And what can you do? That's Yu-Gi-Oh! But anyway, that's sort of my long-winded like tournament analysis thing from YCS Chicago. Pot of Extravagance is crazy. Main deck evenly matched like won me 1,000 games. It was crazy. Altergeist are really good. I know they didn't top. I know people, hopefully people just like side a little bit less for them. I think what kind of happened was like the same thing that happened like with the Danger FTK deck, which maybe someday I'll make a video of. They were super popular, or they weren't popular at YCS Niagara, but they topped. Like the 4 players that played them, 3 of them topped. Like the next event, which was in Europe, you had 40 people playing them and 10 of those tops, and then that's a pretty good ratio, like 25%. And then the next event, only 1 topped out of like 100 people playing it. So like people were just like side decking more and more for it. I hope that in the case of Geist, like people just sort of cut back. I felt like every single player I was playing against had like reboots and evenlies and the Prankatops. So maybe they'll like cut a couple copies of those from their extra deck now that Geist like sort of underperformed. Overall though, I had a blast, and I'm hungry for that first top at a YCS, hopefully later on this season, maybe even the WCQ. But I'll see you later. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Tomorrow I'll have the deck profile with some more analysis as well. Goodbye.